many of you want to know how your child's strengths can help create his homeschooling goals? How many of you are looking for practical tips from parents who are setting goals for their children's home education? And then, how many of you listening now are homeschooling and just feel really alone on this journey? I did. And that is a huge motivation for why I do homeschool, the Spark Homeschool Parent. I want to welcome you. You're going to love today's conversation. We're talking about how do my child's strengths help create his homeschooling goals. And we're going to be hearing from the beautiful Kathleen Braden. She's going to be sharing some of her practical advice with us. My name is Diana Rolston, and welcome to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, we bring you strategies to ignite that spark that engages your child's learning. We're just rounding off the month that we focused on purpose. And next month, we're going to be delving into attitude and how our attitude as homeschool parents has an effect on our homeschool environment, huge effect. So come back next week, and we'll start talking about attitude. And I want to welcome you. Whether you haven't even started homeschooling and you're just looking, what is this whole homeschooling thing about? Welcome. Maybe you are just in the early stages of homeschooling your children. Welcome to you also. And then I know there's some of you who have been homeschooling for a few years now, kind of figuring it out still, looking for some new ideas. Welcome to you. And then those veteran homeschoolers who have maybe a few children and you're still homeschooling, persevering. Welcome to you. And you're probably just looking for some new ideas because the children that you're homeschooling now are probably quite different. And you are quite different than when you first started homeschooling. So welcome to all of you. As you're joining, I'd love it if you just put in the comments your name, who you're homeschooling. Let me know where you're listening from also. If you're listening on the replay, do that also. I love to read your comments, and lots of you are contacting me personally, which is awesome also. This conversation today is for you if you want to learn how to set goals for your children that are based on their unique strengths. This conversation is for you if you just want to learn what to do when your children's interests and strengths just take you in all different directions. And you are in the right place if you're looking for practical tips from homeschool parents who don't know all the answers. I'll be the first to admit I do not have all the answers. What I share with you is my experience, what I've learned through that experience, and I do have education in the field of education, so I share some of that. And I have lots of friends who are homeschooling and have all different sorts of issues, probably many of the issues that you're dealing with. So send in your questions, and I'm happy to introduce you through these Facebook Lives to some of the amazing people that I know. The guest that I have the pleasure of interviewing today, she doesn't have all the answers either, but again, she's going to be sharing some of her experiences. If you're just joining us, this is Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'm Diana Rolston, and today's conversation is, how do my child's strengths help create his homeschooling goals? I'm going to bring in my guest today.
Oh.
Hi, welcome, Kathleen. I have the pleasure of introducing Kathleen. Kathleen is a friend. She's a mom of 3. Her oldest is finished homeschooling, is at university, but she's still on this journey of homeschooling her younger 2. Kathleen, I admire you. You're a humble person and an honest person. And I could say during times when I was homeschooling, there weren't a lot of people that admitted that things weren't going so well. But you were the first to say,
I am super willing to admit that. Yeah.
this day sucks, or this just hasn't
Yes.
been a good day. But
Yes.
that
Mhm.
opens the conversation
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
allows us to be honest with each other and learn from
Yeah.
each other. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
really excited that you're here. So thank you.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. It's awesome. I'm so glad you're doing this. It can be lonely. I'm so thankful.
Thank you. Maybe you can share with those listening why you started homeschooling.
Yeah, for sure. So I started homeschooling for two reasons. One will be sort of just applicable to our home, and then the other one will be broader. But we're Christians, and so my oldest son, Gabe, was in school till halfway through grade 3. And I just increasingly was, and we had a great relationship with the school. It was a lovely school. We were living downtown at the time. And I found I would get him home and was having to unpack a lot of ethical issues, a lot of really tricky worldview issues. So that's going to be applicable just to a Christian parent. And I eventually I was very reluctant homeschooler, but I was convicted with scripture to bring him home. And so he came home halfway through grade 3, and then my middle son was just halfway through senior kindergarten. So we brought them home. But the second reason, which I think, and I hear a lot of homeschool moms talk about, is I found I was doing a lot of teaching at home in the off hours anyways. So we were getting homework sheets home, math sheets home, and I was working on academics from, say, 5 to 8 with a little boy who was tired. I was tired. I had a baby. Our third little one was born then. And I just felt like I'm sending these children away during the bright hours of daylight, and then I get them home tired, and I'm still educating them. I should just do this during the day. So that was more the practical reason. I felt like I could do this not better so much, but in a more peaceful way. And in the end, I do think as parents, we know our kids better, so you can do it better. So you're not meeting the needs of, say, 30 students in a class, but you're just meeting your own child's strengths.
Mhm.
So those were the two reasons. And if anybody ever wanted to reach out just about scripture or biblical conviction, that was a really hard one to wrestle through for sure. Because I was public schooled, my husband was public schooled. This was very foreign, but I knew at my church there was a lot of homeschoolers, and their lives seemed so much less frantic and so much more purposeful. And I thought, I think I'm doing this wrong. I think I'm giving the good hours away. And so that was 12 years ago. That was almost 12 years ago, which is a miracle. So
Yeah,
there,
I'm
that's
sure
the
that.
journey out of the system and bringing them home.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure that is the experience of many who are homeschooling now. There are so many, we know there's so many different reasons for bringing our
The
children.
only other thing I would, uh, and it, the only other thing, well, it depends. Do we want to get into making goals, maybe for more? So right now I'm dealing with high schoolers and middle schoolers. So those are sort of the toolkit that I'm bringing now. Those little years, they're pretty frantic for sure. But setting goals for your middle school and your high school students is probably more what I could speak to. So I don't know if you want to run with that or
Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about next for sure, because this month we're talking about purpose. We started off the month by looking at the big purpose, like why are you homeschooling? And then we're narrowing it down now to, yeah, those goals. So this is the area that you're in now. When you were sharing some note when we were talking before, you mentioned strength-centered education, and I think that's what you're referring to now when you're referring to setting goals. So that would be awesome if you could share some of your thoughts on that.
Oh, Diana, I'm losing you a bit. I've got lag on your audio and video.
Yeah, you're a little,
Hold on.
that's living in the country,
There we go.
eh? But get yourself.
Okay, so I missed that last little bit of you. You're gonna have to bring me up to speed.
Okay. Strength-centered education is a phrase that you mentioned when we were talking earlier. And I think that's what you're referring to when you're talking about setting goals. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that process and your children.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on just about. I set up some. There's about five points. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathleen. It looks like we're having a hard time hearing you. I know in situations like this, I run frantically around the house and I tell all my kids to get off the internet. Kathleen has the pleasure of living in farther away from downtown, so internet is not always the greatest. Whenever you want to jump in, Kathleen.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm,
Well, Kath, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start how. So there's a couple things that has to sort of exist before you can reach into your kids' goals. So one of the
Unfortunately, we've lost Kathleen. Hopefully, she'll be coming back soon. This is the excitement about lives, eh? So Kathleen did share a few points that I really wanted to have her share with you, but until she comes back, I'll just share some of those. You can see why I really enjoy talking with Kathleen. She does have 3 children. 2 of her children, as she said, are middle school and high school now, and then her oldest is doing university from home. As you're joining us, I see we have a few people listening. If you could just put in the comments, let me know that you're out there. Let me know who you're homeschooling and your interest in Spark Homeschool Parents. I'd love to hear from you. So one of the things that Christine, hopefully she comes back and she can share with us, I'm just going to, one of the things she said is so often as moms and dads, we're looking for our kids' passions or their strengths, and they don't really emerge because our kids' days don't allow for any boredom. That's like a huge, hopefully an awakening for many of you. That was a pivotal point in my homeschooling also, was providing opportunities for our children to be bored. Christine continues to say that our kids' days don't allow for any boredom, to make space for strengths to manifest and grow. Let your children be bored. Much of our homeschooling, our mornings included math and language arts, and for our family, science was really important. Whatever is important for your family, that's what we did in the mornings. And in the afternoons, many afternoons would be unstructured. Kids may say they're bored, but it was amazing with restrictions. Like, I know being on the internet and playing games and computers and all that is a little bit different. But having strict rules and letting your children be bored. I see that Kathleen's back on here. Hey there, Kathleen.
Hello, I'm so sorry. This
Oh,
is Beckwith for you. So hopefully it doesn't
yeah, I was.
intermit again. Forgive me.
I was just, one of the things that we have something really in common is the importance of having our children be bored, and that it's really hard to determine what our children's strengths are until they have time on their own to discover their own strengths. So that's what I had been talking about while you were reconnecting there.
Good. You stole my point. That's awesome. I'm glad. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's critical. And I think two of the big things have to be media and then also video games. So we decided really early just to say no to having any video game system in the house. And I know that's a super hard sell right now, but I had seen families really struggle, like even with addictions in that area. And I thought, I just don't want to be saying no all the time. I don't want to be saying no to the boys. No, you can't play, and having to set up these strange and protracted rules about when you're allowed and when you're not allowed. So we just went with a hard no on that one. And when you do that as a mom, you do have to make space for other joy, right? You can't just take away. You have to fill that in with other things. So just as an example, because I think some practical stuff is important. So when we did that, my husband Jason set them up with MIT has a drag and drop coding system. It's called Scratch, and you can make your own video games. Now, they're not fantastic. You can make little Pong video games and Pac-Man video games, but you do it yourself. You're learning how to code. And he said, any game that you make, you can play. And so they spent hours doing that, and they didn't. Obviously, you don't sit around and play Pong. You make another game, and then you learn how to do something more complicated. And so that decision to kind of pull all the really passive, just sort of sitting and consuming formats, I think was a really good decision that we didn't really mean to make, but I'm thankful we did. And it's a hard one to make. It's hard to pull the plug. I do get it. So that's sort of the first point. Make space. Don't amuse yourself to death. Make space for passions, and make your home a yes home. Can I make slime in your good pots? Can I cut up your clothes and make a quilt? Like say yes to lots of things so that they do have an opportunity to do things, to learn. So that's sort of the main point about making a home that allows for creativity, so allows for growth. And then that moves on to, as soon as you see, and moms know this, like as soon as you see that little spark where they're coding this game and they like it, right? And they're whatever they're doing, they're playing the piano, and they seem to be really gifted, or they like doing it. They like whatever their little hands find to do. Then you go out of your way to make situations that so for example, your kid likes chess, you get them in a chess competition. Your little girl is a gifted pianist. Okay, then you set up a concert in your house. Or your son is into animals, he wants to be a vet, he gets a job at a farm up the street. So real world opportunities to grow a passion. So not fictitious ones, because I find teen boys, they see through like these pretend little projects that mom set up. Like they are super not interested in busy work. But if you set up a little pressure where there's a track meet, or you need to be at work, um, I th- I think, I mean, adults don't like busy work. We don't like pretend things. So if you can do even things, and we'd talked about this previously, like math contests. There's tons of free math contests that you can sign up for, and it creates a little bit of structure, a little bit of competition. So these things they're usually free. There's usually a mom who's already doing it. So reach out, say, my kid has this need. Does anybody know, someone who knits? Does anybody know someone who knows how to code? Help. So send a volley out, and there's usually a community or a mom that can point you in the right direction. So that's the second point, is facilitating real exposure for your kid. So it's not pretend, it's not little paper mache projects. And then The third one, and this is the hardest one I think for moms, is don't do it for them. Don't, and I watched you do this. You do this better than I do. Don't go around mopping up for them, right? And that's tough because we really want them to succeed, right? We want to see them thrive and win. And a big part of life is failing. And I think as homeschool moms, we really do have to grow sturdy, robust kids who know how to fail and get up again and try again and, mourn with them over these failures. But don't don't go around sort of mollycoddling. Let them grow, let them fail at things and try something else and be embarrassed, and because that's real life, right? We're trying to grow adults. So that's sort of that third point. And then the next one goes into next month for you, is it's your attitude at home, right? Like, your job is to model what a hardworking adult looks like, right? Your husband's job is to model what a hardworking man looks like. No, sorry, go ahead. I'm totally
No, not at
interrupting you,
all.
Joanna.
I keep going. Those are fantastic points.
Oh, sorry, I still have lag on my end. I'm just going to
Okay,
keep talking
perfect.
because and I do think what ends up happening, I think, is the passions sort of sort themselves out. And so I've found by grade 9, 10, by grade 9, 10, 11, you really do have a sense of who your kid is, right? And so you have to start cutting all the wonderful things that you did sort of in the elementary years where you were exploring things. By grade 9, 10, 11, if your child is going to university, you have to start sort of streamlining what an application is going to look like. You have to start understanding, what does this passion mean in terms of an occupation, right? We're trying to make people who can feed themselves. So with my oldest, it was a fairly easy transition. He seemed to have goals that were in line really early with a program at university, and that's a mercy, and I'm thankful. But again, by grade 9, 10, 11, we had to start saying, okay, if you want to go there, these are the prerequisites you need, or these are the marks that you need. And if you don't give yourself that time in grade 10 and 11, it's not that you can't catch up. You can always catch up, but it's a lot less stressful if you're starting to make these plans. And what happens is you have to let nice things go. Like I remember Gabe stopped taking piano lessons right at the end of high school, but that was hard for me because we'd taken piano lessons his whole little life, and here I am letting go this really precious thing to make room for something better, something that he was sincerely called to. So that is something moms, I think, have a hard time with, right? We've gone to piano lessons, or we've gone to homeschool hockey our whole lives, and it's hard to lose that community. uh, but yeah, the point is to make young men and women that are fruitful and productive and can launch into a grown-up life. So I think that grade 9, 10, 11 transition is important. And if anybody has any questions about that, they can message me. But also, a lot of the universities are fantastic at liaising with homeschoolers. So don't be afraid of that jump into post-secondary. So start early so that your stress is alleviated. But that's not impossible at all. There are lots of things that you can do to bridge into college, university. Because that's, I think, the biggest thing, especially young moms. They think, how this is really cute right now. We're making little crafts, but how does he get into whatever plumbing? How is that going to work?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not impossible. And the earlier you start making relationships with some of the schools you're thinking of, the better.
Mm-hmm. That is a great. Sorry, I think that lag is.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
those are some awesome points, and some of those I think we need to expand on at another time. Because when I first met, well, I did bump into you, but when I first really got to know you was when your oldest and my boys were part of a big, crazy project of building and racing an electric vehicle and doing that down in Connecticut. but it's those projects. There was so much learning went into
Mm-hmm.
that. And like you say,
Mm-hmm.
they succeeded in many ways, but they
Mm-hmm.
failed in many ways too, which was an awesome experience. I remember at another competition, you're
Mm-hmm.
also have been involved with the IEEE. One of my boys had a key role in a big competition
Mm-hmm.
in Toronto. He said after
Yes.
that, he doesn't get nervous about anything because the pressure,
Yeah.
it was just such
Yeah.
a wonderful
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and like your daughter performing in her music, like that's comes
Yeah.
with so many other pressures and so many other learning experiences. This has been such a great
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and I want to just, I'm going to have you on again so that we can
Yes.
delve a
Next
little
time
bit
I'll come to
more
you.
into some of these.
Yeah.
You also shared a number of books, or you shared with me, and you want me to share with
Yes.
our listeners.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to list those off, or I can
Yeah,
just add?
for sure. Yeah. So just because when I first brought them home, I had no idea about anything about educational ideas. Um, so I'll list them out. So one is Dumbing Us Down, which is by John Taylor Gatto, Gatto, and he's also in a documentary called Indoctrination, which is fantastic. If you're going to read just one, read that one. And then the next one is The Fruit of Her Hands, which is by Nancy Wilson. School Proof, which is by Mary Pride. Excused Absence is by Douglas Wilson, and that's more for the Christian homeschooler. And then Inside American Education is by Thomas Sowell. And the last one, which everyone should read anyways, is, whether you're a homeschooler or not, is Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman.
And I
So
will.
they're not difficult reads. A bunch of them are actually quite short.
Awesome. I will put those onto our Facebook page also, so other people. Yeah, thank you so
Awesome.
much, Kathleen.
Thanks. Sorry, Diana. We'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
hang in there for just a moment. I'm just
Okay.
going to close us out. I hope that's been helpful for everybody who's been listening. And we want to hear from you. What did you like from our conversation? What other questions arise from our conversation? Share those in the comments. And share this group. There are a lot of homeschoolers these days, and I know that many of them feel very alone. You don't need to be alone. There are others who have done this before, and our children are doing just fine, and we're doing just fine too. Share this Facebook group. Share this video to those that you know that would benefit. This is Spark Homeschool Parent, and our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join us if you haven't already. Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group. I'll be here again next week, Friday, 1 p.m. for another Facebook Live. And it's the start of a new month. We'll be kicking off attitude and the importance of attitude. So that'll be December 3rd, next Friday. And then I'm really excited. I have another guest who's going to be talking about the hidden secret in many homes, which is anger. And that's going to be an interview that I do on December 10th. So stay tuned for those. Until next week, remember that as a homeschool parent, you can be the spark that ignites your child's learning.